Hey guys, I'm Tom from Composite Designs. This episode we're going to pick up where we left off last episode. Last episode we went ahead and created a profile out of wood and attached it and got our base ready. And in this episode we're going to go ahead and actually use that profile to form the hydrocal in order to create the shape that we want for the plug for our roof. So stick around. Okay, so the final thing we need to do before we start working with the hydrocal is we're going to tape off here and here quickly, and we're going to wax those edges so that it'll pull free from the hydrocal easily when we're done. So nothing too fancy about this. We're just going to go right up against that edge. That way we keep the wax from getting on the bottom plate, because we actually want it to attach to that and to stay attached to that. But this side plate we're going to pull off when we're done, when we're finished with it. And this is just the easiest way to do it. If you got a real steady hand, then that's fine. I'm not going to trust that. It's my hand, so. Just like waxing the car, we're gonna put it on, let it sit for a couple minutes. I'm probably gonna do a couple coats of wax. You're gonna want to do this top because it's gonna want to stick there, and that's what we actually want our scraper to ride on. So we don't want that to give that a minute or so to dry, and then we'll come wipe it off, and we'll do that a couple times. So I've gone ahead and put on the coat that you saw me. I wiped it off. I did that 3 times. This is the final coat. So all we're going to do is just take a rag and just like a car, you're going to wipe the excess off, and it's definitely got some slipperiness to it, which is all we're doing. Like I said, we're just trying to make sure that we can pull this away from the plaster, and we've already sealed it so it's not going to get into the pores. We just want a good surface to do that with. So after that, then we're going to go ahead and remove the tape, and at this point we are ready to start the plaster. We're going to do it in a couple stages. The first stage we're going to do is going to build up the majority of it. We're not going to get it all in one shot. We're just going to put down and build up more or less the middle. So when we come and do the final bit, we're not trying to deal with this much plaster all at once. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the plaster up off camera. A bit messy, but I will show you ahead of time. One of the things that I've learned is to take a bucket. Here I put a trash bag in it. It makes cleanup so much better. The other thing I found is a lot of the plastic buckets that at least with hydrocal, if you use them a lot, it tends to dry them out. They start to get brittle. This seems to prevent that. And again, when it's done, you take the bag, you throw it away, and you're done. Easy cleanup, especially in a production environment. It's a nice little trick to have. Set amount of water in here. We're going to put it in. We're going to mix it by hand, and then we're going to go ahead and spray it over. So I'm going to go mix this up, and we'll be right back. So we got our mixture all mixed up here, and we're just going to go ahead and the game here is we're going to try and build up the center, keep it within our specs, and keep it underneath the outer ridge. I like using gloves, but I will admit sometimes they can get in the way a little. And sometimes you have to just take the gloves off and go at it. It's not really going to hurt you. You're not exposed to it every day. It's not. But for ease of cleanup, I prefer them. We'll just take just a piece of cardboard and kind of get the basic smooth it out again. Again, remember we got to make sure everything rides below, significantly below our outer marks there. So we don't want anything outside of the lines. So we're going to leave a decent distance there. We want to fill this gap here when we do it. The same over here, and we're just going to try and get off the high spots. And again, this is by no means our final mount. This is just to not have to be working with all this. We want more of a thin layer on our final coat. And we should be good. So we're going to let that cure. That right there is the beauty of gloves. I'm going to wipe this excess off over here. Although we're going to end up sanding and resealing around it anyway, because we are going to make a bit of a mess. We'll come back when that dries and be prepared to do the final coat. Okay guys, so I just mixed up a batch. What we're going to do is we're going to place it on here and we're going to start screeding it into the shape we want. For starters, the first thing we want to do is give our old stuff a little bit of a spritzer water. We want it damp, otherwise it will suck the moisture out of the other stuff and it will cure a lot faster than we want it to cure and give us a lot less working time. So, but we're going to start by kind of building up here. I don't think we're going to get it all in one shot, but we're going to kind of start here. So now we'll go over here. We're going to have to go back and forth. You got a little bit of working time. If you mixed it up right and didn't really beat it too hard, you'll have some time to play with it. But there is a point where you got to realize that it's just not going to get any better, and to stop. Finding that point sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. I'm just going to keep working it back and forth. Every now and then you're going to want to take the excess, scrape it off. Don't even try and reuse it. Don't waste it. Every now and then you're going to want to, areas that are getting a little dry, we're going to put a little water. Kind of fill in some gaps. But ultimately you want it in front of there, and you really don't want to, you're not sculpting it with anything other than this piece of metal. It's just a piece of aluminum we took. We took the aluminum, spread some wax on it to make the plaster not stick. And we'll take a little, we got some holes in here. We're probably not going to get it perfect. We're probably going to have to come back in almost with like a, I don't want to say a Bondo, but you know, something, we may almost have to do the Bondo effect a little on it. Scrape up the excess here. We have here, we're going to end up scraping this probably more when it's dry, but just get the heavy at least. Getting very close to that point where we're going to make it worse. We may even actually be at that point, but we're going to give it a couple areas one more try. And I think we are at that point where we're going to leave it. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back after this is cured. And we'll see, we will probably then start to touch it up using a little bit of plaster, some sanding, etc. But the main top looks pretty good. Is the edges that we have some problems. We may even clean it up and do a real thin coat and just keep working those. We'll see. We're gonna play that when we see how it dries. But we're gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and tackle it some more. That's where we're gonna stop this episode. If you like videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. There'll be more information in the description. Next episode, we'll go ahead and finish up this plug and get started on the next one. So I'll see you then.